What's going on YouTube? So one of the most popular Volvos ever has long been the XC90. However, that model in its current generation has been on sale for a long time. But now it's time to finally go hands-on with the all-new 2025 Volvo EX90, which can be thought of as the futuristic successor to the XC90. So does this completely new three-row luxury SUV raise the bar for the Volvo brand? Well, let's go ahead and find out. So of course, let's start things off with the exterior design. Now, Volvo has long had this signature look, and the EX90 doesn't reinvent the overall signature look, but it does certainly modernize it and make it look pretty futuristic. Now, the EX in EX90 does mean this is an electric product. So as of such, you're going to notice that the grille up here in the top is going to be essentially completely sealed off and finished in body color. You do have some ventilation down here in your lower fascia, and this is going to be finished in a nice piano black. And then you've got your nice modern Volvo branding right there in the middle. Now, the coolest part about the front end design, though, has got to be these headlights. So we've got, of course, standard full LED headlights. They are adaptive on both of the trim levels. However, what's really neat about this is that signature Thor's hammer design. This actually now physically moves and splits open, so you have this really, really fascinating look that's unlike anything else on the road. As you can also see, we've got our turn signal indicator down through here, and this serves as your daytime running light. Now, moving on to our wheels, you do have a lot of different design choices. You're going to begin with a 20-inch alloy on the Pure model, a 21-inch alloy if you choose an Ultra model, and then we have the available 22-inch alloys. These have a really nice looking design. As you can see, it does have kind of an aero cover functionality where most of it is sealed off, but we have some white areas, some silver areas, and some black contrast areas. It looks overall quite cool. I also do want to mention that your ground clearance can vary. If you have the available four-corner air suspension, which you do get on the Ultra model, it can go all the way up to 9.8 inches of ground clearance. Now, let's take a look at these mirrors. These are also very unique looking. As you can see, you've got a gloss black finish on board. These are also a really neat frameless design. So as Mason kind of turns around and takes a look at them, you'll notice they have no frame on them. They do, of course, also have blind spot monitoring, heating. We also have auto dimming on the driver's side and power folding. And then this kind of lower section here is dedicated for your camera system.
Now at the side of the EX90, you're going to see, once again, kind of a similar Volvo shape overall, but we do have a lot of modern touches as well to the design, such as these flush mount door handles, and then we have very sleek roof rails up top. As far as the overall vehicle length of this EX90, it's 198.3 inches, which is a bit longer than something like a gas XC90. Now, as far as the rear design is concerned for this new EX90, I have to say I really love the way this vehicle looks. Once again, it has those signature Volvo characteristics. You're not going to mistake it for anything else out on the road, but it does have a very modern flair to it as well. So as far as what makes up the design, we have a spoiler integrated up top, we have an exposed rear wiper, and then you're going to see these kind of two-part taillight designs. So you have this top part that just is some LED accenting, and then down here in this section, this is going to serve as your brake light as well as your turn signal indicator in that kind of bracket shape. You're also going to have LED reverse lighting, so all three elements are LED for this all-new EX90, as you would expect out of Volvo's Flagship. Now we have Volvo spelled out across the back, and then dropping down to this lower area, this is all going to be finished in either body color or piano black. I like that. Of course, no exposed exhaust outlets. It's an electric vehicle after all. As far as the tow rating is concerned, it comes in at 4,850 pounds. And let's talk safety. Volvos are known for this, so you would expect the EX90 to have a lot of safety features as standard. Indeed, it does have all of them as standard equipment on all models. Now, you're also going to be noticing this little bump here above the front windshield, and that's actually a LiDAR sensor. So this EX90 is one of the only vehicles on the market that has a built-in LiDAR. Of course, that helps the reliability of all of your safety systems, and it's also going to allow for more advanced features to be added later. So very exciting stuff with that. But guys, let's go ahead and dive into the exciting interior as well. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
All right, let's go ahead and get into the interior. Now, I'm not normally an iPhone user, but I have an iPhone today, and that's because Volvo has provided us with one of these to demonstrate their digital key system. The interesting thing about this is that this does not come with a conventional key. It comes with phone as key, and you also have an NFC key card. So what's going to happen here is this is going to sense my approach with this phone, which is set up to the vehicle's profile. And as I get up to it, what you'll see is that the door handle will go ahead and pop out, sensing my approach. You also get the little animation in the headlight unit itself. This is a nice and easy to use door handle. It's physical once it pops out. All right, now check out this interior. So obviously this is totally different than what we've seen in any Volvo product. This is a completely new vehicle. But before we get into all those individual details regarding technology and things like that, let's start, as always, talking about our seats. So for this new EX90, it's going to be a leather-free interior. So what you have is something called Nordico. This is a faux leather. It does have a very interesting design here. You've got several different color choices. You have color contrast, different piping, stitching, and kind of a quilting detail that runs throughout it. If you choose the Ultra model, you can also choose to replace this with a wool seat if you want. So they're going to continue to offer the wool. As far as the controls here, you're going to have a lot of adjustments, at least 8-way power. It's all going to be controlled with this one button. Since we have the Ultra, though, we have some additional adjustments in terms of our bolsters. We do also have a manual thigh extension, and most importantly, if I press this button here in the center, this is going to activate massaging. And then obviously you do have memory seats as well, but let's go ahead and climb inside. As I close up the door here, I did fail to close it completely, but it closes itself since it does have soft closed doors on the Ultra model. Now, let's talk about the rest of the cabin materials. So we have a really beautifully finished interior. We'll start out with our door trim. You're going to have this leatherette material that runs all through this section. Through the middle, we have a beautiful open pore wood. There's going to be several different trim selections that you can get across the lineup depending on which interior color you choose. We're also going to always have the tailored dashboard and upper door trims, so that will go all across here. You have a kind of cloth insert in the center. Again, a lot of this open pore wood is going to kind of waterfall down through here and then cover our center section as well. Everything in the cabin feels really nice and solid. Now you might notice a lack of a start-stop button. That's because this does not have one. To get the vehicle ready to go, you're just going to put your foot on the brake, and when you press down to drive, that's when it will boot up. All right, now that the vehicle is completely fired up, let's go ahead and get into some of the individual details. We'll start out our tour over here with our gauge cluster. So as you can see, again, very unique look on this. We have this floating 9-inch display. It's just kind of attached to the steering column itself, which does mean you're always going to have perfect visibility of it, even when you adjust the steering wheel up and down. In addition to that, though, you also have a head-up display, which has some good information in it as well. And if I press this button on the steering wheel, you can go between a few different designs to reconfigure this to what you like. Now, speaking of adjusting the steering wheel, this does have a power adjusting steering column. That is new to the Volvo brand, but I do want to point out that adjusting the steering wheel and adjusting the mirrors are things that you have to do over here in the display. So you're going to have to press the little car there, and then you find your corresponding setting there. So that's where I adjust the mirror, the steering wheel, and head-up display, and you would just do that with the steering wheel controls once you have this menu activated. This is a standard heated steering wheel as well with 3 stages. And let's take a look, though, at interior storage. This is something I'm really excited to talk about because previously the, last generation Volvo products, the XC90, the storage was very much lacking, and it really improves a lot more with this model designed from the ground up to be electric and take advantage. First of all, we have a nice center console here loaded down with stuffed donuts because here at Car Confections, we like to do the donut test and see how much volume we can fit in stuffed donuts because this is our emblem. The answer is 9 donuts, so that's pretty good, but Even though it doesn't fit the full dozen, we have a lot more storage beyond just that. So if I slide back here, we've got our 2 cup holders. This front area will be your wireless phone charging pad. And then this right here is what I'm most excited about. We have this gigantic pass-through space where you can stick all types of objects, and it also has a nice carpeting down there at the bottom. Now, as we take a look at our console area, we only have one kind of prominent button right here. This is our volume knob, as well as just kind of all of our audio controls, since you can bump to the side as well as press it to play and pause your music. And in terms of what we have on board, you have 2 different audio systems, but we have the up-level 25-speaker Bauer and Wilkins sound system. And let's go ahead and give this a sample right now. Yeah, so Volvo Bauer & Wilkins audio systems were always one of Mason and I's favorite sound systems, and I think it's even better for this new EX90. We have additions such as having speakers in the headrest itself, and then of course all the other speaker grills, including this one up here on the dashboard, are just beautifully finished. Now we do have a new shifter on board. I was showing this earlier as the startup sequence, but if you bump up, that's where you go into reverse. Here is our standard 360-degree camera system. As you can see, the default view is actually this very large overhead look here. You can also grab that and actually spin around the vehicle in 3D. Really like the fact that the color of the car matches with the vehicle itself, and you can pull up your other views as well. And then just press the end of the stalk there for park. Now let's go ahead and zero in on this very large display. This is a 14.5-inch display, and this is where you're obviously going to find a great deal of the vehicle's functionality. First of all, down here on your lowest level of controls, this is where you'll find your climate. This is a 4-zone automatic climate system as standard equipment. If you tap on the number, you can easily adjust the temperature right there. You can also sync both sides. This is where we can activate our standard heated seats. We also have the standard heated steering wheel I mentioned earlier. Seat ventilation is offered, but it is going to be an option for about $500, and it is late availability. This is where you can get to your more advanced menus. You turn on and off your vents inside of the screen itself, and you can make adjustments to the front and rear climate like that. The overall UI here is pretty slick. Now, let's get into the main infotainment system. So this is the latest version of the Android Automotive based infotainment system. Because of that, you'll notice predominantly featured is a giant Google Maps display. You also have all the other Google apps built in, including your Google Assistant, which is located right down there at the bottom for easy access. Now, we do also have wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay ability coming soon. It's not working currently, but there's a software update which is going to allow for that functionality to work in the upcoming time period. In terms of the rest of the display, it is very nice to use. You have, again, a lot of these apps that are kind of built in from the Google Play Store. Overall, everything is really fast and quick performing. It's pretty easy to get used to overall, although there is quite a few different settings that you can dig around in. Now, in terms of our mirror at the top here, as you can see, it is an auto dimming mirror with a nice frameless design. Lighting, of course, is going to be LED. We don't have any type of suede headliner or anything like that. And then lastly here, let's take a look at our gigantic piece of glass here. This is a standard panoramic style sunroof. As you can see, it's one giant piece, but that does mean it's fixed in place, so you cannot open it. I also want to point out there is no sunshade, so even though it's tinted, the sun is still going to shine in unless you get Volvo's $300 option of getting a sunshade that you can actually take out of the trunk and manually install it yourself.
But come on back here and join me in this all-new EX90's rear seat. This rear seat area is going to have a lot of space and a lot of features. So let's go ahead and talk about the space first. I do want to point out, though, we are kind of translating these from some of the European numbers, so keep that in mind. But we are looking at about 36.4 inches of legroom with Drew's 5'8" seating position, and I'm 5'9". We are looking at 8 inches of additional knee space. But the thing I'm really impressed by is the fact that we have nearly 42 inches of headroom. There is just so much headroom back here. It feels open and airy, and I definitely appreciate that. Now, I also want to point out that the seats do slide forward and back a good distance. And as far as reclining, that also is a decent amount as well. Additionally, we have the 7-passenger bench seating configuration on this EX90. That's going to be the standard affair. However, you can get captain's chairs here in the second row if you prefer that. If you have the bench seat, you'll also have cool Volvo features such as this integrated booster seat instead of having to install your own. Now, as far as other features are concerned, here in the center, you're going to find all of your controls. This is a 4-zone climate system, as Drew said, so both of your passengers can adjust their own temperature. You're also going to have standard 3-stage heated rear seats on all EX90s. Your vents are integrated down below, and these kind of look similar to a couple other vehicles I've seen on the market. And then we also have vents here in the B-pillar. So 2 vents. I think that really keeps you nice and cool, even despite the sun beating down on you from the moonroof. Now, also in this area, we have a fold-down armrest. We have some cup holders inside of there. If you turn over to the door trim itself, it's going to be beautifully crafted, just like the front door trim, tailored on the upper part, metal speaker grills, wood trim, and then we have a ton of storage in the very bottom. So let's dive into the third row of this EX90. In order to get back here, it's pretty easy. You just grab this little lever. That's going to allow the seat to tilt up and slide out of the way. That way you wouldn't have to remove a child seat. And let's go ahead and climb back into this third row and see what it's all about. So as far as the numbers are concerned, we're going to be sitting at about 32 inches of leg room, which is pretty solid, and about 35 inches of headroom. So definitely less headroom than what we'll find in the second row. However, for someone who's 5'9" like myself, I actually think it feels pretty comfortable back here. I do want to point out it's only 2 seats, so don't expect to be fitting 3 people in the third row itself, but I think that makes it to where it's nice and wide enough for the average adult to even be sitting back here. Now, as far as features are concerned, let's dive into this. We do have vents integrated here in this pillar, so it's nice and easy. It kind of blows right in your face. We also have cup holders, and then we have a charging USB-C port as well, kind of integrated into this piece right there. As far as how I'm going to rate this on the third row rating scale, it's a pretty good space to spend time. The thigh support is a lot better than I was expecting. However, it does still feel a little cramped just because of that headroom, so I'm going to say it's fit for the in-laws. Now walking up to the tailgate area, let's see how much cargo space you have. Of course, you do have a standard hands-free power tailgate. You can also just locate the button integrated underneath of there. Now, as far as the space is concerned in this EX90, I'm pretty happy to tell you that it's a good amount of space, about 14 cubic feet behind the third row seats. If we fold those down, we're looking at about 36 cubic feet, and has a maximum around 74 cubic feet. Now, those numbers do change slightly if you choose a 6-passenger EX90 or a 7-passenger EX90, so keep that in mind. Now, as far as features are concerned, over here on the side, you're going to find a new thing, and I'm very happy to tell you that we do have a power folding third row. That's something that previously wasn't offered on the XC90, so we now have that. You just press these buttons right here, and that will go ahead and fold your seat down. I am noticing they're actually touch capacitive buttons, so that's a very interesting thing with this model. So now I've gone ahead and folded the right seat down as well. I do want to point out there are not any handles to fold the second row of seats, so I will have to go up there and do that manually. And after folding all of those seats down, we're going to go ahead and get one of our other Car Confections signature elements, which is our cargo length and width figures. As far as the overall cargo length behind Drew, who's 5'8", we're sitting at 84 inches, or exactly 7 feet. From behind the second row, we're looking at about 49 inches of length. From behind the third row, about 23 inches of length in case you're looking to haul something. As far as overall width, about 45 inches. And height is going to come in at a little over 30 inches. Underneath of the floor, I do want to point out you have quite a bit of additional space that goes down a good amount, but we're not done yet when it comes to space because there is a frunk on this EX90, so let's check that out. Yeah, so let's check out the frunk of the EX90. It's not going to be a ton of space, so do keep that in mind. The measurements are anywhere between 1 to 3 cubic feet of space, so, just enough that you might be able to fit some, like takeout food or whatever that you don't want stinking up the cabin or your charging cable, so don't be expecting to fit a ton of stuff, but it is nice to have that additional storage space.
Now, of course, at this point, you're probably wondering about the performance and what we have under the hood. Well, obviously, as an EV, what we have actually under the hood is the frunk. But what powers this vehicle is along the bottom of it. That is a 111 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery pack. We're going to have standard dual electric motors in the front and the rear, and in its standard configuration, that's going to be making 402 horsepower, which is good for a 0 to 60 in 5.7 seconds. However, for an additional $5,000, you can upgrade this to the Performance Dual Motor All-Wheel Drive system. This gives you a software update that bumps your power to 510 horsepower, giving you a 0 to 60 of 4.7 seconds. Now, interestingly, in terms of our range, the max range for both of those is going to be the same at 308 miles. It does depend a little bit on which wheel you choose. It could be down to 296 miles of range. Now, in terms of charging, I do want to point out this doesn't quite have the NACS charger yet. That is coming next year. But this is a 400 volt architecture, which means you have 250 kilowatt as your max charging rate. According to Volvo, what that's going to be good for with your DC fast charging, that'll get you 10 to 80% charge in 30 minutes. Now, I'm sure at this point you are very interested to see this model out on the road. We are as well. However, we are under a driving impressions embargo currently. So, of course, what that means is you'll have to come back and see our driving impressions where we're going to get things like acceleration, our signature sound level reading, tell you how this adaptive air suspension rides. But you're going to have to come back at a later date right below me because out of respect for Volvo and our fellow journalists, we will be respecting that embargo.
And let's talk pricing for the EX90. I'm sure you're curious how much all this luxury is going to cost you, and it will be a touch under $80,000 as a starting point. That's for the Plus trim, $79,995. Now, the Ultra starts about $5,000 more expensive, $84,345. Now, what will also cost $5,000 is if you want the twin performance model, that is an additional $5,000 upcharge. And then if you choose all the options, like what we have on today's example, you'll be sitting in the mid to upper $90,000 price point. So do keep that in mind. I also want to point out that this is an electric vehicle, so you might be curious about tax credit eligibility. $80,000 is the cap on that, so that means that no EX90 will qualify, even though it is assembled here in the U.S. in Charleston, South Carolina. And if you're looking to buy a Volvo EX90 or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. Now, the reason you do that is because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealership negotiation. If you'd like to take advantage of that, a link is provided in our video description, and we also have a pinned comment at the top of this video. Now let's talk about potential resale value and reliability to make sure you are making a smart purchase. Now, first up, we'll talk about resale value. As an economics graduate myself, Drew and I took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this Volvo EX90's potential resale value. We estimate that after 5 years and 60,000 miles, it'll be worth 42.5% of its original MSRP, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, 12.5%. Now, it is worth noting that is lower than the industry average. However, it is very much on par with other luxury brands such as BMW, Mercedes, and Audi.
Also, do be aware that that is Volvo on average. Right now, at least, electric vehicles are in general depreciating quite a bit faster than the industry average, so this could depreciate faster. Now, let's also talk a little bit about reliability. So Mason and I have developed something called the Combined Reliability Index. This takes into account several studies on reliability from several sources to paint a more holistic picture. In this regard, Volvo is rated on the lower side of things. It's tied with Audi as our lowest performing luxury brands.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our resale and reliability data, as well as our methodology, be sure to head to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a car is a big decision, so you want to make sure you're making a smart purchase, especially if you're cross-shopping between different vehicle brands. And guys, that's going to be it for our in-depth review of the all-new 2025 Volvo EX90. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, which we hope you did, we'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, not only are you going to be a part of our Car Confections family, you're also going to get the latest car content. We do a lot of really cool car reviews that I'm sure you won't want to miss out on. Also, if you're already a part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.